How do we get forward on policy, whomever wins this November election?
Well, the major problem is we are not going to know on November 3rd who won, because the markets are down in Europe and the U.S. futures are down because people are realizing that election night is going to become election weeks or maybe months if it's up to Trump. Last night was the ugliest debate ever, and the president behaved like a bully, interrupting and attacking both Biden and the moderator. I mean, from the point of view of the markets, and that's why they're going to go further down, the U.S. right now looks like a banana republic. It's run by a wannabe caudillo or dictator who's literally planning an institutional coup. He said that mail-in ballots are going to be a fraud, and he's going to claim against them. He said he's not going to have an orderly transition. He told these militia white supremacists that are well armed, stand by. He's going to stack the Supreme Court. He's going to use the Insurrection Act, and he's telling the bunch of cities already anarchists. This is the beginning of civil unrest, violence, if not civil war. Well, this is going to be the ugliest election ever. We're not going to know who won on election night. That's why the markets are down.
Nouriel,
in the case of Gore versus Bush, the market was down 7%. This time around is going to be much worse.
Nouriel, your heritage here is Jeff Sachs at Harvard, working with Secretary Geithner, working with Lawrence Summers as well, and then time in the Clinton administration. I think we understand where you fit into the political landscape. The fact is, the President of the United States represents a large body of America who has not seen economic growth. Do you detect a Democratic Party plan, whether the middle ground is espoused by Vice President Biden last night or by, as Mr. Trump calls them, the radical left?
I think that the plans of Biden are going to be quite moderate and centrist, if progressive. First of all, he's a centrist. Secondly, he has chosen another centrist as a running mate. Third of all, the median senator Democrat, if the Democrats win the Senate, is more moderate than the left of the party. So radical things like Medicare for all and no private plans and the Green New Deal are not going to pass. And he has a plan. He has a plan for a massive fiscal stimulus that we need to pay for it by raising moderately taxes on corporates from 21 to 28%, reducing loopholes so we're not going to have runaway budget deficits, investing in infrastructure, investing in renewables, investing into increasing minimum wages and incomes for workers so there is more consumption growth. And the markets, until August, when Biden was at the peak of his polls, were actually going higher. That means that markets do realize that actually his policies are going to lead to stronger economic growth, and any hit on profits and earnings coming from slightly higher taxes on the corporate sector are going to be counterbalanced by a stimulus going to lead to stronger economic growth. So on net, I think the markets are quite calm about the prospects of Biden winning or even a sweep.
But, Nouriel, what's priced in the markets right now? I mean, how close will this election be?
Well, first of all, as I pointed out, the correction occurred in September is not just the U.S. election risk, but what's happening with the new cases, with the worry about the third wave, with the risk of a fiscal cliff, with the economy now stalling, and so on and so on. But now, in the last few days, and what has happened overnight, I think that people are going to start realizing that the U.S. electoral risks are severe. If you look at the VIX for November and December, the future one is much higher than this right now. Options on various types of FX trading are suggesting people trying to hedge those things going into November and December. So certainly investors are signaling that they're worried about a long, ugly, contested election, and they're starting to take protection against it.
What's the number one risk, Nouriel, in the next 5 to 6 months? Is it a policy mistake? Is it no stimulus? Is it the U.S. elections, or is it Brexit?
Well, in my view, it's going to be initially a U.S. election, because most likely we're not going to know who's the winner. It's going to be contested for weeks, if not for months. You could have a 10% correction just because of that, if you have a very severe, protracted, ugly, and contested situation. I think that Brexit matters for the UK and for Europe. That's another risk. But the other risk is that, unfortunately, the second wave is not stopping. And we're going into fall and winter where everybody knows there's going to be a third wave. and the scientists are saying we're not going to get the real safe and effective vaccine by the spring of next year. That's a risk to the economy and to the market as well.